Bikes are beautiful. There's an immense range of bikes out there. You can ride around the world on a bike that you found at the dump, or you can buy a super expensive light road bike. Doesn't really matter. What you're going to want to do is find the bike that fits you. I'm not a bicycle expert, but I can talk to you about a few things that will be serving you well. Firstly, get a steel frame, because that metal is used by people and welders all over the world, so you won't have a problem repairing it wherever you are. Keep it simple. It's a beautiful, simple machine, so don't get too complicated. But also don't go too simple. If you have a fixie or a single speed, you will have a hard time getting up the big hills. You also want to ask what kind of trip you're going on. Is this going to be at fast paced, or are you going to be taking things real easy and slow? Are you going to be riding on a track, going downhill over MTB jumps, or are you going to be going on a smooth Ventura highway? Will you be going for a few months or even a few weeks, or is this going to be a 5-year mammoth life-changing experience? These few variables will help you understand what type of touring bike you're going to want to get. You should definitely take the time to research a few different bikes though, and take one out for a ride. This machine's going to carry you for a long fucking time, so you want it to be comfortable. But really, don't spend too much time on this. As Tom Allen says, if you want to cycle around the world, get back to first principles. Quit your job, find a bicycle, and start pedaling. The rest will fall into place as you begin to iterate on your ride. As you go through the environment, you're going to really figure out what you need in terms of items and consumables and how each day is going to look. So you can approach this from two ways. You can spend many months or even years researching visas, equipment to buy, the lightest tent, the fastest boots, and all that jazz, which is definitely good, and I advise you to look at the route, the border crossings, the visas. These are important. But remember that this is going to be a long time, and you will actually have a lot of time during the day to figure out how to solve these problems. You can also make the most of that free Wi-Fi, baby. Or this free cat. As a general rule, you should be prepared and bring catnip wherever you go. On my first bike trip, I met a few people who had arrived in New Zealand from the UK, and I was shocked to find out that they had actually put their bikes on the plane all the way to New Zealand for free. It's relatively easy to do this. All you need to do is put your bike inside of a box. And you need to be prepared as to how to put that bike back together again in the airport after the massive flight. I did this for the first time when I flew to the UK after the grueling 36-hour flight. I landed in Gatwick Airport and didn't really know how to put the bike back together again. I waited for a couple hours to get it out of the heavy storage out of the cargo, and then I just asked the baggage handlers how to reassemble a bicycle. Nobody had any idea, least of all me, and we used my pen knife to try and screw things back together, which ended up snapping the blade, which is all fun and games. I eventually got on the train with this ramshackle of a screwed together bicycle, and all was well, and I was setting up the road to Edinburgh. But what I would say is be prepared. Know exactly all of the things that you will likely encounter before you go, and have a few attempts at how to fix them. For example, punctures, so simple. What you're going to want to do if you get a flat tire, which is becoming rarer these days with puncture-proof tires, is pull over, get a cup of tea going, and put it back together again. It's hard to convey how strange it is cycling around by yourself all day. The lifestyle is very simple and easy. You're just gliding along on a bike, taking in the sights and smells, and when something goes wrong, it can be disturbing and disorientating. The bike is no longer working, and you're stuck in the middle of the countryside, unsure of how you will get going again. So, I recommend taking out your portable cooker at this point and making a cup of tea, because trying to accomplish a simple task like boiling water for tea is a great first step. It will calm you and slow you down. Then you can focus on the next step of repairing whatever has gone wrong. So the best airlines you want to use for taking your bike onto a plane is Qatar and China Southern, as they both have a 30 kg baggage allowance. Then it's just a case of being within the baggage limit. My bicycle weighs 16 kgs, so that left plenty of room for clothes and gear. You're also going to want to know how to fix things like your chain. When I was cycling through the Lake District in England, I was listening to The Prisoner of Azkaban and I was hooning, and my chain just exploded all over the road. It was pouring with rain and I'd never fixed a chain before, so I ducked under a tree and spent an hour or so on YouTube finding a tutorial and figuring out how to put the chain back together again. It would have been really good if I'd just known how to do that, so I could just slip it in, because it only took about 3 minutes after I figured out how to do it. So do this in the comfort of your living room or your garage or outside before you set off.